In 1951, at the celebration of the Legal Aid Society's 75th anniversary, Judge Learned Hand said, "If we are to keep our democracy, there must be one commandment, thou shalt not ration justice." Now, 65 years later, the Society strives every single day to obey Judge Hand's commandment.
In 1876, we changed the game by establishing the first legal services office for low-income people in the country.
In 1902, we waged war on loan sharks who victimized immigrants.
In 1908, we fought against the impressment of sailors, motivating Congress to make it a federal offense.
In 1920, we opened our first real criminal branch, with a woman, Margaret May Burnett, as the head. Several years later, we hired our first social worker, establishing an innovative approach to defense.
In 1962, we established a juvenile rights division to represent children, 5 years before the U.S. Supreme Court mandated this representation, and now we are the largest juvenile law office in the country.
In 1965, 2 years after the landmark decision in Gideon that established the right to counsel in criminal matters, New York City named the Legal Aid Society this city's primary public defender.
In 1967, we brought one of the first stop-and-frisk cases to the United States Supreme Court.
In 1970, we successfully argued before the High Court that proof beyond a reasonable doubt was mandated in a criminal case.
In 1972, we established the Parole Revocation Defense Unit, the first to provide legal representation and social work diversion for parolees.
The Society's groundbreaking litigation against the city in the 1980s established a right to shelter for all low-income New Yorkers, a right not available anywhere else in the country.
In 1987, we challenged the rental assistance provided to very low-income families. And in response to that litigation, New York State created a rental assistance subsidy that over time has benefited over 200,000 families.
In 1991, we won the right for people who are arrested to see a judge within 24 hours of their arrest. Roundtree versus Brown ended the terrible practice of people languishing in custody for days upon days and set the standard that must be followed even today.
For 140 years, the Legal Aid Society has been changing the game for vulnerable low-income New Yorkers, with our commitment to ensuring that no one should be denied access to justice because of poverty. We want to share with you the stories of 3 New Yorkers who received a second chance because the Legal Aid Society changed the game in their favor.
I came home from doing 3 years in the penitentiary, and I wanted something better. So it was suggested to me by a friend that I should go into the MTA's internship, which is called the WEP program, Work Experience Program. I stayed with the program for approximately a year, and I gave them everything they asked for: attendance, work, good evaluations, and then I was called by them to go down to fill out an application for possible getting hired. I went down and I was denied, me and several other people who had criminal records as well. The job that they was gonna hire me for was the same thing I had been doing for a year. I started the process to sue them for discrimination, but I didn't have any money. I had gotten a lawyer who happened to have known Miss Amy Hone, who works for the Legal Aid Society. We spoke over the phone. She told me immediately, "Come on down, bring all your paperwork. When can you come?" I was saying, "Well, I like her. She want me to come down right now." And this was like about 3 or 4 in the afternoon. So I said, "I can come tomorrow morning."
In talking with Mr. Speed some more about the application process, we learned that he was not asked to submit any evidence of rehabilitation. We appeared as representatives of Mr. Speed in his Article 78 petition. We were offered a resolution where they were willing to review Mr. Speed's application, and once they did, they realized, not only could he show us that he can do the job by doing the job for a year, but that he's, a pretty remarkable person, and they offered him the position, and he started working in November of 2014, and has been there ever since.
And I still haven't missed a day.
There were a bunch of hearings that were put on by the City Council to hear about the legislation that was proposed for the Fair Chance Act. The Fair Chance Act makes it illegal for an employer to inquire about a criminal record. Because of the fantastic result that we got for Mr. Speed, we asked him to come and testify with us.
I feel I was instrumental in getting that bill passed. I proved that they were wrong. Everyone should get a second chance. Some people do learn their lesson, but by having the Legal Aid Society in place, it's reassuring to know that you have someone that will fight for you when you are not able to financially fight for yourself.
So Detective Louis Scarcella was a star detective in Brooklyn during the years when Brooklyn was awash in homicides, and he became a legend for closing cases that other detectives could not. In 2012, one of his most famous cases was completely discredited, and he was shown to have committed outrageous misconduct, and that was against a gentleman named David Ranta, who was freed. And the district attorney, to his credit, agreed to reinvestigate other cases in which Detective Scarcella had played a significant role, and Ms. Gathers was one of those cases.
Walking my dog. And he said that he was questioning people in the neighborhood regarding an incident that happened with an elderly man. And then he just kept coming to my house saying that, could you come down to the precinct? He started telling me that I was there, threatening me, telling me different things. He had evidence that I was in the house. He wanted me to write a statement. I said, I don't know what happened. So he wrote it. It was supposed to be my confession to the crime. And then he said, if you sign this, you could go home. He said he was taking me home, but instead I went to Central Booking. I was a detainee at the time because I had been arrested for manslaughter, burglary, and robbery. I stayed in prison for 10 years.
Unfortunately, when we got to the appellate division, confessions are very powerful evidence, even to the judges, and they just unfortunately did not prevail.
Really all we had at that point was Judy's brief on appeal, and you could tell looking at that something is rotten in Denmark. And then you throw in Scarcella's involvement, and we knew it was a promising case.
And so in early 2016, we said, look, there's not going to be anything else we're going to find out. This is what we know. It's time for you to make a decision, Mr. District Attorney. Are you willing to admit you have no reliable evidence of guilt? And we pressed, we demanded a decision, and District Attorney Thompson personally reviewed the case and agreed that he was going to consent to the homicide conviction being overturned in open court.
I have such admiration for the Legal Aid Society lawyers who they fight for these cases every single day, year after year after year, and I have tremendous admiration for them, and we had a wonderful partnership.
What the decision was that I was going to get my my name back, my good name back. Everything was going to be erased from my record as if it never happened. But now I have a clean record, so I can apply for a lot of jobs that I couldn't. And I'm attending school now, so I mean, I'm just ecstatic. I mean, I'm really grateful to all of them for all their hard work. The Legal Aid Society and Hughes Hubbard and Reed. I'm just thankful. I just thank God for them all the time.
Well, I'm Jim St Germain, and I was born in Haiti. We moved here when I was approximately 11 years old. I moved into Crown Heights, the building right across the street. It was a lot of gang activities, a lot of drugs, a lot of violence, and at a very young age, I had to adapt to all of that. There weren't no doctors, lawyers, police officers, firefighters, working people around. Most of the people I knew I look up to were drug dealers. A child can't become what they can't see.
So I represented Jim in Brooklyn Family Court. He, at the time, was arrested for a relatively minor offense, and I was his juvenile defender. At one point, he suggested that he wanted to go into detention, to go into a group home-like setting, and didn't want to return home. He didn't think that was going to work for him. And at the time, it was local. It was in Brooklyn. He wasn't sent far away from home, and he's actually the only young person of the hundreds that I represented that got accepted into this particular placement.
At the time when I was in the system, most youngsters who were being arrested from New York City were being sent upstate New York. They were being sent in a place where their parents couldn't get there. I mean, literally 10 hours away from the city. They're being abused, literally physically abused. Some of the kids got their arms broken, and you can't take a kid out of the community, put them somewhere for 2 years, pick them back up, drop them back in the community and say good luck and succeed. That just doesn't make any sense.
In 2009, the Legal Aid Society filed a lawsuit against the Office of Children and Family Services. They are the agency that operated these facilities. The Close to Home initiative was created to keep these kids in New York City so that we no longer send our kids to large, remote upstate communities. We created not only facilities, but also a continuum of services to keep kids out of detention.
In addition to helping these kids and representing them when they get in trouble with the law, the Legal Aid Society continues to help them and make sure that their welfare and their well-being is at the forefront of every decision that the juvenile justice system makes. She was sort of like an angel who came into my life. From being my attorney to then being a mentor and then being a supporter, I can't remember anything I've accomplished in life, I'm not kidding, where she didn't help me with it. Literally, from me getting a lawyer for housing, for me getting a lawyer for immigration stuff, for me getting a job. So everything that I got from Boysen, everything that I got from Christine and Marty and Walton, from the Legal Aid Society, my goal now in life is to make sure that those things are available for other young people who grew up on the wrong side of privileges.
On behalf of the 14 million New Yorkers whose lives have been changed since 1876, I want to thank you for making our work possible with your support of the Legal Aid Society.